A glowing sound effect appears on the left-hand side of the screen. Throughout this video, there will be a still image of Winter Renfrow alternating with video of Mo Carpenter.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Monday Member Spotlight. I have a very special guest today, and I will let her introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. This is Winter Renfrow. I'm originally from Horse Branch, Kentucky, but now reside in Owensboro, Kentucky. I am 5'2" with short brown curly hair and blue eyes, and I am a strong supporting member of the ACB Next Generation. I am in many committees, so therefore I have many different hats. I am vice chair for our programming committee. I'm on the PR committee, membership committee, and constitutions and bylaws committee. I am also excited and blessed to be one of the members of the class of 2021 ACB and JPMorgan Chase Leadership Fellow.
And Winter, what is your eye condition, and how would you describe how you currently see?
To be honest, I was diagnosed when I was almost 19 years old with retinitis pigmentosus, well known as lovely RP. Basically, it means the death of the nerves in the retina. So I don't filter out light very well. In my left eye, I only have light perception, so I can tell you if the light's on or off or the sun's shining outside. In the right eye, I can still see whether a color is light or dark, but don't ask me what that color is. I can see shadows, but the shadows have to be moving, and they have to be super close for me to see them. I also have very little peripheral vision left in the right eye. Unfortunately, I was the only one in my family that was diagnosed this. I was taken to many different places trying to figure out what my eye condition was. And in the beginning, I was diagnosed with scopic sensitivity, which basically means I cannot filter out fluorescent lighting.
And Winter, when did you join ACB?
I joined KCB about 6 years ago, approximately about 6 years ago, when I joined SCIVI, which is the Support Alliance for the Visually Impaired, which is an affiliate under the Kentucky Council of the Blind.
And how or when did you find Nextgen, and why did you get involved with them?
I am one of the, I don't know how you'd say it, one of the very few beginning. I wouldn't say that I'm like totally in that role, but of Kentucky Next Gen, and I was very involved with that. I'm very involved in that organization as well, and I'm very close friends with Amanda Selm.
What is the best part about being a Nextgen member?
One, sitting on different committees to make sure that we have the proper programming for our 40 and under generation. As a supporting member, I get to do that. Also, to be a mentor for anyone that's in our Next Generation affiliate, even though we do not have a mentoring program as of right now. That's kind of in the works. Also, for advocating for our generation, because the older generation sometimes doesn't acknowledge us like they should.
What are your goals within ACB or ACB Next Generation?
My goals for Next Gen as of right now, I'm sitting on committees and helping out as much as possible. I know that there is a possibility of an advocacy committee as well, and I plan on sitting on that as soon as that is started up. With my social work degree, which I have a bachelor's in that, I attained that from Brescia University in 2007. And so, advocacy is very near and dear to me. Eventually, I would see myself possibly on some kind of role on the ACB board. Not sure exactly what, but that's kind of my goals for that.
The 2021 convention theme is Better Together Wherever We Are. What does this mean to you?
As a JPMorgan Chase Leadership Fellow. That means community. It means being able to work together because there is no I in team.
Do you have a job?
The most honorable job that I have, and no, it's not paid, but it is 24/7, 365 days a year, whether you feel good or not. I am a mother of an 11-year-old child, which is a gem in my eye. So that speaking, yes, I do have a job. It's not a paid job. I do a lot of volunteer work within the blind community, as well as I am a peer mentor for the Jefferson County Public School System here in Kentucky. It is through the Center for Accessible Living. We go into schools, high schools that have I'm not sure exactly how to word this, but the classrooms that we go into, each student has either a disability or diagnosis, and each mentor either has a disability or diagnosis to become a mentor for these children. And we go in and we teach like self-esteem, self-awareness, self-advocacy, how to make decisions, goal-making, things like that they're going to need in the real world that they may not necessarily get in their school setting. Well, and then I sit on the CATS network, which is the Kentucky Assisted Technology Services. And I was also just newly appointed to the SILC board, and it's for independent living. And both of those roles are appointed by the governor of Kentucky.
What is your home life like?
I do live in Kentucky. I had to move from a small area, a small county. My parents live on, I don't know how many acres, hundreds, farm, and they raise beef cattle. That's just one of my dad's side jobs. I had to move to Owensboro for public transportation. People know that if you are visually impaired, transportation is one of the things that we struggle with. So I moved to the city. I am divorced, and I have an 11-year-old son that has just graduated 5th grade and is going to go into the middle school next year.
What are your goals or dreams?
My life goal and dream is to advocate for visually impaired parents. There is so many obstacles that we have to overcome as a parent in general, but as a visually impaired parent, we even have more obstacles to overcome. And my goal is that no visual impaired parent should have to endure social services just because they are visually impaired.
What is something you are looking forward to in the next year?
That would be our national convention. I'm looking to not only make new friends, but make new contacts. As a social worker, we are taught how to network and be able to work in different environments. And hopefully that will lead me to become a better leader, and also possibly to even find a job through networking.
Where would you like to be in 5 years?
I would have to be in this area. My son doesn't graduate high school for quite a while. And as a mom, your role is to be involved and to teach them and go to games or band performances or whatever they're actually involved with. I would like to see myself having a job dealing with advocacy. Hopefully it's a paid one. Right now, all I'm doing is volunteer work, possibly moving, because would like a bigger place to kind of spread out. I only have, a very limited space, and I would like for my son to have more room to kind of maneuver in where I'm at.
What makes you smile?
Well, that would be my son. I could be having a bad day and I can call him to see how his day is, and he can just do something goofy and will have me laughing.
What gives you confidence?
I have struggled with confidence for quite a while, as being someone that lost her sight in a later life. You know, we struggle with that. Just my son believing in me gives me the confidence I need.
What are some of your passions?
I am a hardcore, and when I mean hardcore Cubs fan. I have been a hardcore Cubs fan ever since my grandfather took me to Wrigley Fields when I was just a kid. And back then it was not necessarily the coolest thing to be, but you know, since 2016 it's quite cool to be a Cubs fan. I love all kinds of music, from bluegrass to rap, depending upon what kind of rap it is. I love to travel. I love to be outdoors. Pretty well anything that Matthew's into, I'm pretty well right in the middle of it.
Is there anything you would like to try? And is there any barriers keeping you from doing so?
I told a very special guy friend that's in my life right now that I promised him I would go skydiving with him. I've never been skydiving. I don't necessarily like the thought of jumping out of a plane.
Where have you traveled and where would you like to travel next?
I've been to a few states here in the United States. My favorite spot I think I've been to is Hawaii. The only thing is I didn't get to island hop. I would love to go back just to visit the other islands. There's many other places I'd love to see. I'd love to see Paris and London and England and Ireland and Scotland and Australia. Just different areas.
Tell us about one of your craziest adventures as a blind person.
I would say probably flying all by myself to see a friend that lived in Seattle at the time. I had never flown by myself. I was in some of the biggest airports you could imagine. Seattle has got one of the biggest ones as well. And we did some, I think what part of this crazy trip was actually going up into the Space Needle, which is extremely high up, and being able to go outside of it and be able to look around.
And how do you think that's impacted your life?
I mean, I think it's just, I had more sight back then, so I was able to travel easier than I do now. But it has impacted me, the fact that I do love to travel, whether it's by myself or with friends or with family.
Do you have any hidden quirky talents?
When I was in high school, I was this is what they called it. It was Class Act Clowns Against Drugs. And this team actually did, dress up as clowns and put on productions and whatnot. So my quirky thing that I can do is I can make balloon animals.
How do you like to spend time with friends? Do you like to grab a cup of coffee, go out to dinner, or hang out all night, or something else?
I think it depends upon the setting of where I'm at, in the mood that I'm in, on what I would really want to do with friends. I'm a person that don't like to be in an area where it's really loud and a lot of people, because it's hard to hear everything. And I think it's because my hearing is so well that if I'm in a group setting and we're in a restaurant and it's very crowded, I not only hear their conversation, but I'm hearing conversations around us as well. So it can become a little bit harder to decipher what conversation I'm supposed to be paying attention to.
Is there a book, podcast, TV show, movie, or anything you would recommend?
I have a lot of movies that I could probably recommend, but they're all like older movies. Like one of my go-tos is A League of Their Own. Yeah, I know, baseball oriented. Let's see, A Hopeless Romantic. So I'd probably recommend Sleepless in Seattle or Sweet Home Alabama. Books, I don't necessarily have like a hardcore recommendation for that because I have so many different genres that I like to listen to that it would be hard to pick, a specific one.
What song would make you drop everything so you could go turn up the volume and sing along to?
Well, I have a lot, but I would say that one in particular would be Don't Worry, Be Happy.
Who would you love to meet in fact, fiction, or fantasy?
It would be either Rosa Parks or Helen Keller, only because they were very strong in their opinions, beliefs, and advocacy.
If you would pick a day or event that changed your life, what would that event be?
I have the exact date, day, even time for you on that one. That would be March 5th, 2010 at 9:45 p.m. when my son was born.
If there were no barriers, what would you be doing with your life right now?
I would actually be working for the state as a worker for social services because children take a very near and dear spot in my heart, and I don't like to see any child neglected or abused.
What do you wish you really understood or others understood about you?
As you can see, I take my motherhood very, very strongly. And what I wish society would understand that just because you're blind or visually impaired does not mean that you cannot be a supportive, strong parent that can do things just as well as a sighted individual.
What is the strangest question someone has asked you?
I've been asked many strange questions, but I think probably the most strangest scenario situation I've been in is I took my son with my parents to a rodeo one time, and the rodeo was over with. It was at an ag expo, and this sighted individual had seen me walking around and whatnot, and he came up to myself and my mom, and he looked at both of us and said, "Can I pray over you?" And I'm like, "Sure, why not, And so he goes and he continues to pray, and he's praying for my sight to be restored and healed and whatnot. And so the prayer's over with. He looks straight at me and he goes, "Can you see now?" It was frustrating then, but it's hilarious now. And I looked at him, I said, "No." And he said, "Okay, so we're going to pray again." He thought by prayer it was going to heal my issues, okay? So he's praying the whole time he's praying, which I am very faithful in the power of prayer. So he gets done with that one. He looks at me again and says, "Can you see?" And I looked at him. I said, "No." Finally, I guess I gave my mother one of those, deer in the headlight looks. And Mom goes, "Sir, we're grateful that you prayed for us, but she has a hereditary genetic disease that no amount of prayer is going to bring back."
What is one crazy random fact that you know?
That would be what was first eaten in outer space. Most people think it's ice cream, but that's not the correct answer. It's actually applesauce. And John Glenn was the first one to eat that in 1962.
And how on earth do you know that?
Well, okay, and I cannot say her name because she will chime in, but one of the questions happened to be one day on the question of the day skill was, what was the first thing eaten in outer space? And it gave like all these, like it gives you like four options to choose from. And I think I actually even chose the right answer. I can't remember now. But then I went back and looked it up as well to see exactly when and who, because my son, for his major project at the end of the year, he had to do a presentation on a famous person, and he's very big into space, so he ended up choosing Neil Armstrong. And I asked him, I said, do you even know what was the first thing eaten in outer space? And he was like everybody else, thinking it was actually ice cream, and lo and behold, it was not. It was applesauce.
Is there anything that you would like to invent?
With my eye condition, it is a mutation of a gene. And so I know they're working on different cures for retinitis pigmentosus, but there's so many different strands of it that they can't come up with an exact cure for it. Now, I know there's no way that they can cure me and put me back into the sight that I had when I was a kid. But I would like to at least see something that is a definite to stop the progression where it's at, so that I don't eventually end up totally going blind. I have a lot of friends that have this nasty genetic disease, and there's no quote unquote cure for it.
Is there something you would like to tell your younger self?
Be more patient with yourself. Try not to be so hard on yourself. Always be able to laugh at any situation that is stressful, and that it's okay to cry when you need to cry.
Is there a quote or piece of advice you would like to share with us?
Okay, here's a quote, and it is from one of my favorite singers. I have many, but one of my favorite singers said this, and that would be Stevie Wonder. And his quote is, and I live by it, is, if you do not ask, you do not get.
Where should we go to learn more about you, or to ask you any questions that we might have?
Come directly to me. I'm an open book. I am on Facebook. I am on Messenger. I do have email. I'm kind of more like the old school, because the first time I really got my hands on a computer was my senior year in high school, and I've been out over 20 years now. I'm an open book, but you may not necessarily always like the answer that I will give you.
Thanks so much, Winter, for joining us today. This is Mo Carpenter, and you have joined us for a Monday Member Spotlight with ACB Next Generation. If you enjoyed these videos, we'd really appreciate it if you could hook the like button and subscribe. If you would like to learn more about ACB Next Generation, we invite you to check us out on several social media platforms as ACB Next Gen. You can also find out more about us on our website at acbnextgeneration.org. We hope you join us next time as we feature one of our other great ACB Next Generation members. Now on the screen is the ACB Next Generation logo with the words Develop, Lead, Elevate underneath. A glowing star effect appears in the center of the screen.